Hello, everybody. Welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And I want to say thank you again to all my lovely patrons and all my subscribers here on YouTube and here on Picarto.tv. Really appreciate it. So, Worlds in Peril's done. I was trying to find like one of those stingers, you know, those applause things, like yeah, kind of thing, you know, just to make it sound like it's more important than it is that I completed a project. But it's done, so that's great. So now we get to move into phase 2, I guess, of what are we going to be doing next? And I'd like to talk about it with you guys, like get your guys' opinion, your feedback, and all sorts of stuff like that. Very exciting, very excited to be done that as well, and all sorts of good stuff. I did want to just quickly hijack, like I usually do at the beginning of the show here, just to tell you guys an apology that I wasn't able to have the show yesterday, and have I missed? I know I've missed a live stream. It may have been, is it like 2 weeks now? Somewhere around there? Or maybe just a week. Not sure, but anyway, I apologize for all that. You guys know about my computer problems. We've got that all straightened out. Excuse me. And, yeah, we're good to go. So, I've been doing some soul searching. What's that? Castle Dracula? We won't be working on that today. You guys might be interested in where we're going. But what we're going to be doing today, and I'll kind of go in there and just answer some of your guys' questions, is my good friend Will Robson and I, we've been chit-chatting quite frequently this week, actually. It's been a good week for us to just be bouncing back and forth just for comic conversation, discussion, and stuff. And a lot of things are just sort of, you know, sometimes if you guys are doing your work or whatever, things just start happening. Maybe not like big moves in business, let's just say, or your future, you know, in art and stuff like that, but just talking to people or conversations are lining up and you've been thinking about something or you've been reading something and somebody else brings it up and it sort of gels together. That's what's been happening to me lately, and there's been this massive moment of clarity, to be honest with you, that I'm going through right now, and it's very refreshing. And I think in part of it is because Worlds in Peril is done. That was a massive... That's a cat running by a ruler. But the project was pretty massive, and now that it's done, I have nothing else to worry about except getting better and what's the next thing, right? So we get to start nice and clear. But we're talking with Will and stuff. As you guys can see right now, what I've got up here right now is a Castle Dracula sketch, and a bunch of people over the last 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month, I've been noticing a lot of people posting traditional style stuff, like real, air quotes here, real inks on paper and stuff, and I just wanted to get something done just to, you know, just to do that, and it was very refreshing, and I'm excited to get back into that. However, this sort of method here, if you look at the drawing that I have, this is done with some tools that I like to use traditionally. The C-Tech pen, which you can see I'm sort of adjusting right now, as well as a Pentel Pocket brush pen, and then this is like a gray Copic marker. That's about it, but this is like about the range currently that I have for tools in real life inking, okay, and microns and stuff like that. What I would love to be able to do is be able to do one and the other at the same time and not have a drastic style change when one or the other comes up. And this led me down to some conversations with Will again, and just thinking, you know, forward thought of what are we doing, where are we going, what are we trying to get, okay? And his opinion might change, and I'll speak for him, but it sounds like where we're going is around the same, and what we're trying to do is maximize speed for profit. And usually what happens in all of that is your quality tends to suffer. If you guys remember, there's like this, here, I'll try to draw it. You guys hopefully have seen it. I mean, this goes around on rotation. Let me close Photoshop up. We don't need that guy eating up all kinds of resources. But this image here goes around rotation on the internet in art circles often, maybe twice a year. But if you think of 3 circles, whoops, how does it go? They got to overlap. They sort of have to touch here. Yeah, something like this. Horrible. So here would be price, quality, oh my gosh, and speed. Okay, and usually this comes from a client standpoint. It's a client always wants all 3, but in reality, at best, you get 2. You can never have all 3. Okay. And if you haven't seen this, I'm just going to quickly go through it so you guys can kind of get an understanding of where I'm moving from this. This is all tied together. Just bear with me. You guys know I ramble. So let's just say, right now, I'll just use it as an example of where I'm going personally, right? So what I'm looking for is I want to be quicker so that I can show potential clients or future clients, or even with personal work, that it's more, I want stuff to come out more regularly. You know what I mean? Like I want more content to share with people. That's an actual passion of mine. I want to be able to do that. So speed, that's one. Now I get to choose because I can't have all three. The reason you can't have all three is in the middle here, and I'll just kind of dash it like this. That's like the unicorn. It doesn't exist, and if it does, it's rare. And those people are one in like a bajillion. So it's a great thing to try to strive to be that unicorn, but in reality, it's good to just fit in with this sort of thought and maybe try to achieve that third pillar. But with two, you'll see how it makes sense. Okay, so what's the next thing I would do? I would love to be able to make more money. So, and hopefully this is sort of tickling some of your guys' art and business sort of brain, is the price part doesn't necessarily mean that you're cheap. It could. It could mean that you're very expensive. It could mean a lot of things, right? But the best part of it is if you go for the money, that's where you can start making the decision to make the change into making it a career or a business. Something that your art can feed you, clothe you, and shelter you, and allow you to grow. And that's great, right? But what about this? Quality. What about like if I want to have the best style that a lot of people on a huge scale just love my stuff? Okay, so what happens is whatever two you choose, the other one's going to suffer. It's going to take a hit. So right now, I would love for comics to be a huge source of income for me. Okay, so price is going to get the check mark as well, and speed, so I can do more of it. And the idea here is with more things coming in, or necessarily better quality projects, if I can do more of them, then they feed into each other. The more you do, the more you get. So what happens here? Quality's taking a hit. So what does that mean? All of a sudden your art turns into stick figures? No, not at all. Not at all. What it means is you have to come up with creative solutions to fit in the bill of price and speed. So all of that is going somewhere towards this. And you guys have seen me working in this sort of style here since, wow, I would say Worlds in Peril, maybe the first month after I started it, and then the deadline started to slip. Because even with the standard, the exact same thing started to happen. Deadlines start getting closer, and what ends up happening is you have to sacrifice your quality. Right? You need to hit a deadline because you need the money, the paycheck. You know what I mean? You're striving for that. And this isn't all about the money, but you know what I'm saying. So something has to give. There's no way you could do. And again, this is the unicorn. If you're this person, you're not here right now. You're already working. You don't have time to be here. Okay. So imagine, think of your most detailed comic book artist in your head. Pick one. Off the top of my head, you got your Jim Lees, you got your David Finches, you've got Greg Capullo, Bernie Wrightson, massive Arthur Adams, massively detailed artists. Okay, now imagine they were able to crank out what they do in 6 to 8 hours every day without stop. Do you know how much money they would make? Because they could say, like, I would love $300 per page. And people would look at their art and they'd say, wow, that looks amazing. But how long does that take you to do? And the reply is, oh, I'm hitting a comic book once a month, no problem. Then you're going to get that price point. Okay? So this is all just one long-winded way of saying where we can tie it in. So I've come up to the decision that I'm at a crossroads right now, which is there's two decisions to make. One, I could pursue passion projects and my own stuff, meaning I'd be a 100% independent artist with my art funding myself to continually create those ideas. That is a great goal, and that would be an amazing thing to achieve. The negative part of it, though, is how much does that investment cost for that? How much time is that going to take to build up? How much writing do I need to do to get better at it? You got to write to get better. Art's got to get better. Travel costs. All sorts of those sort of things. And on the other spectrum is sort of what I've been doing is getting client work. And I know we've already talked about I'm finally done client work and I don't need to do it anymore. However, now is the time, and this is where I'm going right now and I'm sharing with you guys here, okay, is my big push now is to get better quality clients, is to, I don't want to necessarily say stay away from independent comics, because that's not correct, but it's higher quality, quality might be a arguable term, but better clients. So obviously in this sort of discussion with superheroes, we're talking the big two, Marvel, DC, that push. I want to see how far I can get with that. I want to give it a good, solid 110% effort and see what that means. So what's the investment in that? Well, the time I have to devote to studying, which sounds fun. Who doesn't like to study? I like to study. You guys like to study? I hope so. And the next one, and this is the big one, and I'm just speaking for myself. We will draw, I promise, guys, because I don't like just, I'm sure most of you guys don't like coming here and just listening to dude talk. But is the travel. The people that need, or the people that I need to talk to that could potentially lead to a job in the field, I don't go to them, so they don't know me. And that's my fault. That's nobody else's fault. I could stay in my house, and you might hear people say this, you could stay in your house and draw every single day. But if you never go to, in this case, a convention to show your stuff to somebody, for them to give you the possible answer of yes or no, you could be the best artist in the world, but nobody knows you. And that's not like all of a sudden a curveball, or it doesn't, that's like out of the blue. That's just logic. So that's where I'm going right now, guys. So what we're going to see is sort of like a shift in what's going on. I do have Castle Dracula up here, and I will talk about it. Millennium Man was asking, awesome that you finished Worlds in Peril. Do you know when the possible release date is for it? For that, you can actually go to, I believe it's a Google community page. Just type Worlds in Peril, and it'll be up there, and all the information's there. As I find out, right now we're just supporting the backers that have been waiting for a while. But as I know, Kyle is going to let me know, and I will definitely share with you guys, because I know there's people that are really interested in it. And I might be looking into making another art book. For those of you that, a long time ago, I released Volume 1, but the amount of art that I've done in this one is just surpassed that, including the time in between. So we were kind of talking about maybe turning into an art book or something and see what's going on with that. So you guys can stay tuned for that. So what are we doing here? We're going to try to go for the top. I'm going to try my hardest to see what happens. You know, we're going to start slow. I'm just going to start rational. I'm going to start from the ground and go all the way to the top. So what does that mean the future's looking like? Well, it's looking like, just like I showed you, quality, I would definitely say, is going to get me in the eyes of people. The quality of artwork is going to make people go like, whoa, look at that, which is awesome. Okay? So right now, if you look back down at this little grid that I made, there's 3 things here. Price, I want the price, like I told you guys, to be able to make this a living. But right now, I do have a day job that I go to that I enjoy going to. It's a wonderful, fulfilling job in a lot of areas. So the price, I can sort of get rid of that for now because I have that taken care of. Eventually, it would be nice to have more art replace that, if that's possible. But we can worry about that as it goes. So right now, what I'm worrying about is speed and quality. And in the quality, to me, is the second place of the speed. So if I'm able to hammer out more studies faster to understand more complex things, that's great. But when I can go to conventions, if I'm fortunate enough to get an editor or editor's email address, I can continually flood their emails once a week, twice a month perhaps, of here's new projects that I've been doing. That way I'm always in their inbox, and they can always see that my name's popping up with art. Okay? And that's basically all there is to it, okay? And all this sort of dovetails in. What a long-winded way to get here. What are we at? 30. I can't believe I've been rambling for this long. Getting into this. This is ideally what I would like to be able to do traditionally and digitally. Why I was in here in the pre-show is what I'm looking at is trying to get my pens, my digital pens, close to these tools here. And what we did in Photoshop is I just scanned this in at 600 DPI. And now what I'm doing is I'm getting my brushes about this size. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I want you guys to try this. For those of you that might be going into digital and you're not sure that how to do it, how do you make that transition? The tools feel weird. Everything's off. Nothing's right. And I highly recommend just going into settings, moving sliders, and spending, you know, like grab a coffee, grab beer, whatever you like to drink that relaxes you. Maybe put on a little bit of music, nothing chaotic, and just go in there and start fiddling with stuff until you get something that feels right. And I'd recommend adjusting from time to time. But as you guys know, I use my C-Tech pen a lot. And what I'm trying to do here is try to get close to this line. I feel like it's close, but I'm not 100% sold. But there's two or three tools that I would like to use. And this starts going into the Freddie Williams method from the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. I'm going back to that method because it gives me speed. Okay? Now, there's that part where people argue that it might give you that lack of quality, because I know some people don't like Freddie's art. I understand where they're coming from, but I think once you get into the comic making business and you see what he's doing, phenomenal. And talking about process style stuff, okay? So check it out. Watch his videos. I wish he made more, but the guy's busy making books, right? Can't get mad at him for that. So with the Freddie method, I like to call it, is you've got like this pen here, which is usually a dead brush, but since we're in Manga Studio, I get more flex, more play with Manga Studio tools, so we're going to use that. I actually like the C-Tech pen over a Micron. That might change in time, but for now that's fine. When I make like a fast line, I can get this. What it is this isn't pen pressure that's doing this. This is velocity, which is a really sexy slider in Manga Studio 5. The faster you go, the thinner it gets. Very cool. If you were imagining using a real pen on paper and you just want to cross the canvas like that, or you go slow, right? Like just like a marker. And it gets this really cool line to it. All right, so there's that. The next tool that we use in that method is a thicker version of this, but more for contour lines. And this is where my style is going to kind of deter where I go. If you look at the Castle Dracula stuff we got here, my contour line is more inky. It's got like where line weights would be. It's not a flat dead line, okay? So we're going to play around with that. We're going to find something. I do like the flat dead line too. And then the last tool would be sort of like a brush pen or our traditional inking tool, where you go in there and you start beefing up those line weights. So what we're going to do is we're going to sketch tonight. I figure, I got Castle Dracula up here again just to draw this, but I'm thinking maybe we'll do a Ninja Turtle tonight. And that's sort of leading into where we're going to go. So the next big move we're going to be making with you guys is, if you remember, many moons ago, I talked about Ninja Turtle pitch. And that's the first pitch I'm going to actually do with this new style, and we can see where it goes. We're going to do a 3-page, maybe 5. I want to say 3 for sure, but I'm going to change the script up a bit, and I'll go over it with you guys how we're going to do that of the Ninja Turtle stuff. So I'm going to go right down to concept design. I'm going to make a tailored pitch to them for Ninja Turtles, and who knows what happens from it, right? So let's get in here. So I've got this brush here, and what I want to do is I've actually been playing around with the settings, and it's a little bit different than the default one that I have. Let me just turn all this crap off. It's lagging it up when we get in there. Actually, it's trying to see here if yeah, that was fine. All right, we're gonna have that, and then the next brush. Whoops, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself here. All right, let's save this brush here. Is it up here? Duplicate, create subtool. Is that it? Sure, we'll try this out. C-Tech 2. And we'll see if that shows up. Cool. And I'm going to go in here, probably change a little bit of this. I highly recommend you guys playing around with this. Again, I know it doesn't sound fun and it's kind of scary, but it's a really cool thing. So this is like the first version of the C-Tech, and this is where we ended up. Actually, it feels way different. And what I'm trying to do is mimic what we have already. Yeah, that's really weird. So we got this guy, which we're going to stick with. And I guess in our markers is where we're going to start getting into the thickness that we need, right? And I highly recommend having a file open, or grab a piece of paper, and just write down what settings you're using until you get used to it, or until you make your own custom brushes for this stuff. All right, so this looks about as thick as we're going to want. So I'm actually just going to write this down. Felt pen is size 17. And if we go back to our pen here, C-Tech is 15. C-Tech 15. And then the very last one we'll do here is I like to use, it's a brush pen. It's kind of got a little bit of texture to it. So I'm wondering, like by default, you guys have known all my stuff. I always use this tool here to do all my outlines and stuff. But I want something with a little bit more grit to it. No, not that. And I've really been falling in love with this sort of like textured pen. And what this does is this is the line we go in there and we add thickness to the lines we have. And you want to be able to have a little bit of range on this stuff so you can start building out some shapes. So let's open up our settings here and see what we got. Let's turn the velocity on. You guys heard me talk about that. And we can see how it works. So what I like to do is I'll just kind of move over here, jack this up here. So we're going to crank it up just so I can see what the difference is as opposed to what I was just using, So I don't even know if I can tell. Let's bring it back down. Alright, so it's radically different. So I have that there. Yeah, I've been thinking of buying some of the Friendin stuff. A lot of people have been telling me about it, and I feel like I'm missing out because this is the other thing too, right? You get guys like Friendin that are providing brushes out there that are, what's it called? They've already done all the hard work for you. You know what I mean? And you don't have to worry about doing that and doing what I'm doing here. So those resources are out there, and I highly recommend using it. John Jessup is the one with the mustache. Yes, he is. Oh, did I call this guy Jessup? Sorry about that. My cat was in here too, so maybe that was where I screwed that up. So let's play with the pen pressure here, see what that does. Oh, that's trash. So let's bring that back down. And what I kind of want is just a little bit more texture in that brush. So let's bring up some settings. How do we get into you here? Modifier key settings, is it? No. Here we go. So we want, let's see here, brush shape. So there's a way we can kind of get in here and just start janking this up. And this is a default brush here too, so here we go. So we can get in here, and that might give us a little bit more. We'll stick with that. So we're going to see how that goes. So this is our textured pen there. All right, so we got that. So let's go ahead and just start doing some sketches then, eh? How's that sound? So we can go ahead and I'm going to delete all this stuff except the Castle Dracula guy. I'm probably going to do that when we're done the show. So let's go here. So let's get our sort of workflow going. So we're going to grab our pencil. Let's see how big it is there. That looks good. Go like that. We're going to get our kneadable eraser out. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, so let's, I want to do, sorry, what's that? I realize An hasn't, yeah, unfortunately I wasn't able to do the stream yesterday. I miss talking to some of you guys. A lot of you guys come in here and it's the same faces and all that stuff. Faces here. So, we're going to do a Ninja Turtle, and since we've only got, about 15 minutes left, which is kind of a bum out, this method is fast. So what we'll do is we'll just do like a normal, easy bust shot of a turtle. We're not going to go too crazy here. This is all what I would put under a, what's it called? A study session. Alright, so let's just sort of figure out, nothing too crazy. Just worrying about shapes. Like a classic, not looking to impress. This is, meant specifically for testing out brushes here. And a lot of people draw the turtles differently with their heads. I like, if you guys bought the new action figures, they're more akin to the old style turtles. Just trying to figure out what we can do with the bandana. Maybe we can just wrap it over his arm. I don't like giving them too much of a beak, but nope. Just wait. Sorry. Oh no, thank God. Okay, we got a whole half hour. My apologies. So I've got the streaming thing up right now. Okay, and it says I've been streaming for about 50 minutes now, but I forgot that that was for the pre-show as well. Sorry. Thank you guys for bringing that up. That's so you can tell how rusty all this is going. All right, so the beak part of these turtles, everybody draws them a little different. Sometimes put a little bit of like a sharp point on it. A little smile, make them a little happy. I'll flip it, just see where we're going. You gotta be careful too. Like I find once we start adding beaks and stuff like that, it's what's it called? It starts to, I don't know. It has like a bird feature to it, and I don't really like that too much. So now you can cut back on speed and focus on quality. Yep. Well, right now money is not the issue. So focusing on speed and quality is where I'm at right now. All right, so let's just sort of build this up here. So this method here, it allows your pencils to be much looser than they normally would be. And I'm just going to pencil like how I think feels good. As you can see, I'm adding line weights and stuff in here, which is pretty much a no-no because we're just going to be using a that like C-Tech pen, that kind of just flat pen. So all of this doesn't even matter. But sometimes I find, and could just be me. You guys let me know how you work with this, but I find that when you work with a tool that gets a certain energy out of you, to do that as much as you can. And with pencil, you know, doing this right here, you see me like tapping lines over and over again, sort of like petting them, people call it. Gets a little bit of energy out that I don't think that I could normally get with something else. Lars is saying money is always the issue. Money is an issue, absolutely, but I have a great job, and money is not a problem. I mean, yeah, more would be great, I guess, but money isn't the problem. I'm not in that situation. Not saying I'm rich or anything. I'm able to save a little bit of cash, and I can, do all the stuff I need to do to live. But more money isn't going to get me where I want to be. Where I'm going to need to go requires even harder work than I've been working. Study sessions doesn't mean I need to be spending more time all night to draw. But just actual quality drawing time and stuff. So these kind of bust shots are a little awkward to draw here. Noah, John, you're off like every 2 weeks, right? Are you off tomorrow? I have the day off. Yes, I have every second Friday off. You're a gearhead and that costs you? Hey, Blueberry. So, what you're talking about there, about being a tech head and stuff, I can relate to with video games, and you guys heard me talk about Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. I'll say it again. I know I said it last time. Is read The Dip by Seth Godin. Amazing book. It's changed my life in a lot of areas. Now I don't start anything until I tried my best to think about where whatever I'm going to do is going to take me. And everybody needs a way to relax and all that stuff. I just find that there can be a lot of distractions, especially with video games. And that's not to say never play that sort of thing again, or if you're a tech head, never get new gadgets and stuff like that. But just be aware, if what you ultimately would like to do is comic books, chances are you're not going to have much money for a very long time to buy those sorts of things if you're because you'll be a couple of things. One, spending all your time drawing, and the second one is that money you're making off drawing theoretically should be kind of like, if you were thinking of it from an entrepreneur standpoint, is being put back in the business, which means travel, means getting more portfolios ready, maybe making books, something to just show people who you are, getting more people to know who you are, so that you can eventually transition into having, time to be able to get into that sort of stuff. If that makes sense to you at all. I know a lot of people are going to have different outlooks and all that stuff, but it's just a thing that I'm being a little bit more conscious of now. So a good example for video games, anyways. I'm pretty much conceding that if anything's a multiplayer video game, I'm gonna do my best to stay away. Because multiplayer games, like it's not that I don't want to be a loser, but when I start playing competitively, I would like to be able to win more often than lose, and that requires additional resources, right? Like reading articles, watching videos, seeing what the pros are doing, the people that actually want to have that as their job. Be a professional gamer or something. They're the ones making all these videos that are going to help you beat people, get that ratio up. But at the end of the day, like that's not relaxing anymore. Now it's eating into like, man, like what we're doing today, doing some experimenting. This can be fun, and a lot of people can hate it because you might feel like you don't get any gains out of it. It's taking too much work. You don't know how to draw faces, or hands bother you and stuff. But the more you work and the more you ask questions and the more you draw, like that stuff just starts to answer itself, Alright, so we've kind of got him over here. I don't want to go too detailed with this. Again, we're trying this, I'll say a different workflow like that. Line weight you achieved using microns or incredible. This is a pencil right now. This isn't a micron. You're going to see once we get the microns out how gross this is going to look and how different this is going to look. So normally this is like sort of the style I would like to go in, right? We'd even go in there with more shadows, and then I would just go ahead and do the contour line around everything. And there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But let's go. Let's push it. Let's see where we're going. So I'm going to lower the opacity a bit here for you guys. Make a new layer, and this is where we're going to start getting into the inks here. So C-Tech, just so you can see, we've already got, this is the same pen that we use on the Castle Dracula piece, trying to get the sizes right. And the reason, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I should have and I forgot, is the reason I suggest grabbing a piece of paper, spend a couple hours or whatever, try to do a decent piece with some real inking tools. Like if all you got with you is microns and Bic pens, do it. Do it for what feels comfortable, okay? Get your scanner, scan it in at whatever you like to work digital, at least 300. I brought it in at 600 because ultimately I would like to be able to work at 600 DPI. I just find the brush quality is a little better. So we scan it at 600 DPI and then start picking the tools that are in here and comparing them and trying to get a feel closest to that, as opposed to scanning in like a 72 DPI image and then transforming it into a 600 DPI image. The quality gets shot. All your stuff is 600. I would love to be able to do that. My computer struggles with 600. Even sometimes with just inks, it's pretty bad. So the other thing, sorry. So the other reason why we scan this in at 600 is for anybody that's read the DC Guide to digitally drawing comics. I want to do this too because I did buy this printer that can do this, and I might actually do it tonight after we're done. But all you would do is like your outline layer, which we'll get to and you'll see, and I can actually print that out on Bristol, and then take that, and that fine, almost like a micron pen, has already been done here digitally, where I can adjust it and stuff, print it out, and then I can grab my brush pen and my real stuff and just sort of build my contour layers and all that stuff over top of it. And then you can also try selling that stuff. You can try moving it. That's all. Noah's been working on a suicide drawing days for now. Awesome. How's that turning out for you, bud? James is saying, yep, better to start big than reduce. Absolutely. Lars, I've gone down to 300 to 400. My computer can't take more than that. Normally, I do 400 as well. 300 is fine. I just find with Manga Studio that my brush quality gets better the higher I go. So 400 is usually where I go. Ultimately, this is sort of going into like that the conversation you guys brought up, or somebody did. I apologize, I forget your name, of the techie stuff. And I have a whole bunch of video games and things where I'm seriously considering just selling that stuff, keep a little bit of it, but sell a good chunk of it, and then put that back into what I want to do. I want a computer that can handle this stuff because this is what we do. I do digital work, right? So I should have a machine that's not the top of the line, but isn't hiccuping and stuff when I try to go higher than 300 DPI. Right? It's just moving your resources around. Usually, if you need the money, there's ways to do it. If you got to get a second job, you know what I mean. You got to do what you got to do. If you're not doing it, somebody else probably is, right? And the competition to the top is it's very, very competitive. All right, so we have this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because the Cintiq we're using is a little smaller. The problem is that when you get in here, the closer you get with this stuff, is your lines start doing this. Watch this. So my lines might start looking real nice and smooth, right? Yeah, that's nice stuff. But there's sort of an energy that gets lost there, right? And if you zoom out, it starts to look better. It always looks better the more you zoom out. Oops. So what I like to do is, let's just get our proper eraser here, is I like to stay out a little bit more than usual, I guess. Like here, I kind of want to go into about here, but we're going to try here. And what this does is this encourages us to work quicker. This is where I find I get my speed and stuff, or try to. So you see all of a sudden I got this quality of a line in here, is because, again, this is this type of brush settings we got. So I'm just going to flip it so it's easier on my wrist here. And what I'm trying to do is, obviously it's like you still got your inking mentality here, right? You're trying to accentuate the pencils, but I'm also adding in lines that I feel at the inking stage might make it feel a little cooler. And I mean cooler like style-wise, not temperature. We won't be coloring this sort of stuff. One other thing I've noticed with this method, if you watch any of Freddy's videos, is when you're doing your contour line, we add a contour line after. So you're going to see, like, look here. You see there's this gap right there in the bandana? I'm going to leave it because I know my contour line is going to go over that. So I'm not going to stress out about it. It's sort of like you're just carving out where the rest of everything will go. These tend to feel more like guidelines, if you ask me. Because every stage of this, like once we get that contour line in there, what we're going to be doing is grabbing our textured or our pressure sensitive brush, right? Like our brush pen in our case. And you can draw in white. So you can always go over what you might have thought were mistakes, or if you want to make something feel a little bit more organic or anything like that. So I'm going to make sure I get the bandana kind of coming in. Get all our cuts and pulls and stuff. That's fine. Let's get the bottom of... So here I'm just sort of going to adjust this. I like to give the turtles like a little bit of a jaw if I can. It just makes it feel more like they got that heroic jaw in a way, you know? Microns tend to taper a bit more. They may, yes. Like I said, I usually do inking with a C-Tech pen, and this is pretty close to that feeling. This thinness, let me just turn out the pencil so you guys can see a little differently. This thinness that's happening, it starts to feel like a pulled pen, or like it's drying out in certain areas. When you zoom in, it kind of doesn't really feel like it, but when you zoom out, it's there. What are my plans with tablets now? Is the Huion out for good? Noah, John, you could sell some of your games to get Cintiq Companion 2. Yep, and these are all real things that I can do, and something that I definitely need to think more heavily on. Yeah, I'm done with the Huion. I'm in the process of returning it, and I've moved back to the Cintiq, mostly just because of the headaches that I was having with it, and the fact that I had to replace the pen twice. I can't work like that. You know what I mean? Especially when we were working on Worlds in Peril, where deadline was massive, right? And if I'm sitting around waiting for a pen to show up, I can't work like that. If you've got clients that need you to turn in stuff, no way in hell they're gonna be okay with just waiting all the time because your equipment's breaking. That's like our job, right? If you're working traditional and you've got like a pencil and pens, like like that excuse of, oh, I ran out of ink today, I can't do a page. That doesn't float. You know what I mean? As much as like, well, my computer crashed. It's like, damn, your computer crashed. Sorry, but the real answer is like, well, how long is it going to take to get back up? Because now you're screwing the whole production up, right? And I'm being pretty gross with these lines. This is mostly just testing out some of these workflows. Art or arts is defined by the tool you use to make your craft. Martial arts, your body and mind. Digital comic book art by the software and hardware. Wacom Cintiq and Manga Studio and Photoshop. Yep, and Big's talking the good words. Which turtle is this going to be? I'm not going to color it. I'm just testing some inking stuff, so I'll let it be the viewer's decision which turtle this is. Normally, you know what I mean? There's ways we can go in here and like adjust the bandana. I think Matias Santaluco, if that's how you say his name, the current turtle artist, he's one of the first guys that's been published that I know of for like the main title. That's push the bandanas like that. I've seen tons of concept artists and stuff do it, but for it to be on like the official turtle book, you know, that's pretty huge. All right, so we're gonna have this. Let me just see what we got here. So the next one, whatever we wrote down, is the felt pen, right here in the size of 17. So this would be our contour line. It seems like it might be a little thick, actually. Just trying to see how this goes. That one might be good. So we'll try 12. So we write that down, 12. We'll just undo those. We'll make a new layer on top. And thank God for Manga Studio 5 introducing the one thing that I wish Manga Studio 4 had, which is if you hold the shift key, you can start to make these straight lines, and if you make enough lines close to each other, you can kind of like round things out. So this is what I was talking about before, right? Of like trying to fix contour lines. And as you can see, I changed how that line worked from what we had. And all I'm going to do is erase what we already did underneath there. And this is the look here I think a lot of people sort of struggle with, is once you get past this method anyway of the initial pen drawing, because a lot of people get stuck on like how bad it looks, but all that is to sort of place where things are going to go. Once most people that I've talked to get this far with this contour liner on everything, all of a sudden the image starts sort of speaking to you, and all of a sudden your, I don't want to say your courage, but your art kind of comes back. You're like, okay, let's do this. No, John, you should be drawing Ninja Turtles professionally right now. Thank you, I really appreciate that. Splinter and stuff. Yep. So what this is, if you guys remember the first script that I lined out on YouTube for what I was going to do with the turtles, it was an establishing shot in New York City. Then it scrolls all the way down into the sewers. That way I can show New York City. I can show regular people. Then once we get into the sewers, it's the turtles fighting the Rat King. And the Rat King was going to be like what I would like the Rat King to be, kind of like from the cartoon. Just like this mountain of a man, you know, just so much meat. But the problem well, it's not the problem, but in the meantime, the comic book has been going on strong, and I love it. I think it's one of the best books out there right now. I'm a huge fan of it, though, of Turtles in general. But anyway, the Rat King was released there, and he's a house. He's a whole different kind of thing, and they did so much better than I thought doing like a Juggernaut or the Hulk style Rat King would be. So now that I'm thinking of when I do the pitch to IDW, I want to show a little bit more range. So maybe it's just Bebop and Rocksteady that they're fighting, you know? I could show that All right, I can draw the other characters that everybody likes, the other people that everybody knows. You know, I can draw the the boar and the rhino. I can draw Splinter. I can draw Shredder. April. How do I fit all these characters into three pages? So that's gonna be the creative challenge. But yeah, I'm very excited to do it. See you later, Big. Thanks for stopping in, bud. All right, so this is the contour line right here. So if we turn off the pencils, like if you look at this, like it might look still kind of boring, but this is ready to go. This is ready to ink. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to drop another layer on top. We're going to keep the pencils there because there's some stuff, again, that I did in the pencils I'd like to sort of, sloppily bring back in. So let's get our pen tool back. And remember, I kind of had this, which one was it? Was it the textured pen? Or was it the for effects? No, it was a textured one. So you can see what we did with the textured one. It's kind of got like some grit to it. And this is more experimenting. I'm not sure if I like it yet, but we're going to find out. So let's bring back the pen there. And what we do with this one here, right, is now you can start pulling your line weights in and out. So we'll start with the face because that's going to be the probably most important. And I want this eye to be the center point that people are mostly looking at. Let me just reduce the opacity there. And this is where you just sort of think like an inker. So let me just zoom out. So I like the grit a little bit, but it's starting to, I don't know, I think it's too much. So let's just erase it. Let's get our, see what we got. In Photoshop, I have the perfect brush for this stuff. And that's the other thing too, guys. I might be just going straight to Photoshop with this method as well. I found a lot of workflow and brushes that work really, really well. So just for sake of the video, let's just keep going with the pen that I normally ink with, the mapping pen. I'll zoom in a little bit more here. And you can taper some lines again, right? I can just draw with white here, and I can break up some of these lines if I think they're just kind of killing the flow, or like right here, I don't necessarily like having the brow that high. Let's get that cast shadow in there. Zoom out so we can kind of see what's going on. And I'll be flipping this on and off so you guys can see. And I actually want to connect these here. And this is the stuff I'm not sure how much I'm going to keep anymore, is this rendering, I've been doing it for so long that it just feels like second nature. But this simple sort of style, not sure. So I'm going to show you guys this other video for what I'm doing with studying. Is I made an influence map, and what it is essentially just an image of all the people that I'm going to be looking at to incorporate into my style, like rip off things from different artists and go from there. And a lot of the people I want to follow, they don't render like how I'm rendering here. This is an old remnant from study and teachers to get in this, and it adds a lot of time to the work. I know it gives it a look, but at the same time, it's sort of like I don't know. It ends up making it busy, and I want to actually get away from that 90s style rendering. I find now, like especially the people I'm looking at that I'm getting interested in, it's overkill, and I think it's just my style and my taste is changing. So let me just zoom out here. I already know where we're going, so I'm going to turn off the pencils, and we're going to throw in the blacks that we have here just to see where this is going. Another thing I want to try doing, we're going to do it here in a second, is spotting blacks. It just helps speed things up too. Alright, so we can kind of zoom out and see where we're going. And you can see right away, just like with a quick line art layer, like or line weight layer like this with our, I would call this the inking stage, how far the image goes and how it looks different. I think you should keep the heavy black. Imagine a heavy black turtle comic. Sure, yeah. Like there's something that when you work with black like this, that it does let you do some creative things storytelling wise. I don't ever want to like just leave that. That's an actual art thing. That's not it's not like turn everything into Hellboy kind of stuff, right? I wonder if we can actually just do this. Let's try it. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I kind of like that. Just that one thing right there really made a lot of difference. Let's kind of see what we're doing here. It's hard to get away from this stuff here. I'm finding myself fighting it. Like I want to get in here and just render this out and add some crazy wrinkles and shadows. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but like I've continually said throughout tonight, is I've just been working like this forever. That it's comforting, and I just feel like right now it's the current workflow, right? Like it's the process. We've all got a process on how we work, like stages, right? Like all right, start with pencils, do get this far kind of thing. See, now this rendering here that we did, it doesn't work. So we're just actually going to get rid of it. And what we might try doing here is let's make a new layer because this is going to get messy. Just lower the opacity here, and then we can go ahead and grab our eraser. And just make this look sharper than it is. Just give a little bit of grit on them, you know. This is gonna be interesting tonight when I'm done here talking to you guys. I'm doing something I haven't had a chance to do in a while, and I'm very excited. Is going through that influence map. I'm literally gonna grab a Joe Mad, and I talk about this all the time. And if you guys are looking into like how to develop your style, type in, excuse me, what's it called? What did Will call it? Just go to Will Robson's YouTube channel, Robson Inc. I believe it was something like developing or how to get your comic book style, something like that. And he goes over an interesting way that he does it. And I think there's a lot of really good ideas there. But essentially what it breaks down to is just grab a comic, grab a movie, whatever it is that you love about that person, and copy the shit out of it. Grab your sketchbook, study it, draw all the faces. And I've done that. Oh my God. I think all of us have done that. And if you're not doing that, keep doing it. Please don't stop. One of my teachers, as I was, I don't say growing up, but as I was getting better as an artist because of him, he was just instructing me on things that I should look at that would change things. But, he was saying things like, get in all the studying you can do, get in all the stuff you can get done now, because once you actually get hired professionally, or let's just say by professional, in my opinion, as long as you're getting paid to do it, you're a professional. As long as you're treating it like a professional, okay? When you're in the field getting work and worrying about working all the time, you have very little time to sit down and study like you do right now if you don't have that. So if you have the chance to do so, please don't not do it. And all that's to say is tonight, that's what I get to do. So it's been so long since I've got to study some Joe Madureira. You guys know I'm a huge fan of his. I wish my stuff looked more like his, but the style that I do, like this kind of stuff, I'm stuck. I don't want to say stuck, but that's where I'm currently, working in. For better or for worse. But it's going to be interesting. I'm actually very excited to just crack open some Joe Mad and just... No, you do it with George Perez and Gary Frank. Right on. So it looks like we're about done the show here. I just want to see if we can do... oh, that's right. I was talking about spotting blacks. I got stuck into the rendering. Actually, I just want to try one more thing here because this just feels weird. The front of his face doesn't go in shadow. Although this sort of gives a bit like a different feel to it. I don't know. Anyway, we're just kind of figuring stuff out here. This is way too like grungy of a turtle. Alright, so spot blacks. This is how I like to worry about spotting blacks. Usually you can just get like a big fat brush and just start dropping globs of ink everywhere, like, like up in here. And what I like to do is I'm not looking directly at the drawing. I'm actually looking like over here, spots that are opposite of what it is. So you can see I've got all this black underneath, like for his lower lip and his jaw area. So what I'm doing here is, right, the only reason this looks good is because we've got white and then black and then white, right? And this gray or this rendering is the transition between the two. So I find when I'm doing this sort of stuff here, it's best to not look directly where you're at, and that helps with spotting blacks, okay? So I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, and I'm going to increase the size of my brush. I just want to see what it's at, 30. I'm just going to write it so I don't forget. And I'm going to just jack it right up, like, look at that. Just a big, fat, inky brush. All right? And I'm just going to start, this is where you start to figure out like where your light's coming in. So we already know it's coming from the top left. I'm just going to drop some stuff in here like this. And you're sort of feeling it out, just, You see, I'm not being too precious about where a lot of the lines are and stuff. I know I can go in there and fix all that. This is all going to cast like a great big cast shadow. So all of this is probably in shadow. And I know that the drawing's done here. Maybe we can just I don't know how that's going to look up there. Nah, we'll keep that pretty light. So this would be basically it for spotting blacks, okay? And do this on a separate layer so that you don't feel like you just effed your whole drawing up, okay? Sometimes I'll also lower the opacity a little bit just to tighten this up a little bit here, okay? So I'm going to grab just like a small eraser. And I'm going to bring some of these things like that line there to a point. I'm going to bring all this to a point like that. Sharpen it up a little bit more. All that side is probably going to be in shadow. But I don't want to go over the lines, you know. There's still a way to make this look professional without it making it look like you just literally drop gobs everywhere. Yeah, that's fine. And you're going to see really quickly what we do with the shell, how this kind of method adds to some fun stuff. And we'll start with the shell here. Actually, I'm just going to rotate it. So let's bring it back to 30. That was the size we had. Now I'm working with two monitors here, guys. So I have this zoomed in, and on the right here it's zoomed out, so I can see what's happening with the rendering, like if I'm rendering things in the wrong direction and stuff. Okay. So, and this is the one part that I'm kind of concerned with this method that I have right now with this rendering, is when you start getting the things that require a lot of texture, such as a giant turtle shell. If you don't render it, it looks wrong. Like how is their face all rendered out? And the shell, which we know if you touched it would have a different feel to it. How does that not look or have a different feeling to it based on the art that's provided, you know? And that's something, you know, I don't want to necessarily think about anymore. Arguably, it's what separates that quality, you know, is can you do this rendering? David Finch is an amazing artist for this, where you can look at his stuff and he'll draw, you know, garbage pails with a rendering, and then you see how he draws like a shirt and it's a different style rendering. I'm not there. But David Finch's stuff, I feel like my rendering is somewhat like his, and I don't want it to be. I don't want to go that extreme with it. I just don't have the patience with it. And what ends up happening is just because I'm not skilled enough with it, is that it just starts getting muddy. Like right now, I'm going in there and I'm starting to beef up these render lines, and it's just starting to get out of control. Get some of these line weights in here. And again, I'm just kind of using those blobs as like guides for where we can actually start adding some of this rendering. Sorry about that, you guys. So anyway, I mean, I guess that will be about it for tonight. Hopefully you guys had a good time, and sorry for rambling in the beginning. But yeah, so I don't know what else to say, except thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are patrons, thank you. There was a new video that I released on Monday, I believe, which I'll talk about a little bit now, which is, if you are not a patron member, that's cool. If you would like to be, head on over to patreon.com/JonathanRector. You can go there from a link on my website, and you can find all sorts of stuff on there. There's just free pencils and brushes and all this stuff. But I've started a new show on there called Sketchbook Mondays, and every Monday I upload a video, sort of like just learning and just explaining stuff, more tutorial heavy kind of thing. But this is the sweet spot, hopefully, and I'm getting a kick out of it so far. There's a discussion kind of back and forth with the same people posting replies, which is great. The shows are directed directly to your guys' suggestions. So, you know, maybe somebody talks about, hey, can you help me with a head? Can you help me with torso? Hey, can you show me how to blah, blah, blah? And I just randomly pick one and we do a video. If you can't go on Patreon, that's cool. Those videos will get put on YouTube every month after they've been released, okay? So next Monday, I'm going to have the 4th episode, which means, so from 2 weeks from now, the first episode will go up on YouTube. And right now, the first episode was just the introduction video of just me showing how I do some digital sketchbook stuff, just to warm up and kind of get some idea generation going on, just fun stuff. The second one was, what was it? I forget. I think it was the torso. And we haven't done a torso video in a while. So there's that one. And the third one was, I think it was like an hour long. And that was actually really fun. And what that was, oh, it was heads. You're right. It was heads. Maybe I have 4 up there. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. But the last one we did was, I had a really good time doing it, was how do I break down a script into a thumbnail? And I have had videos like that on YouTube, but this one felt a little bit more organic, and I went more into the process of how I do it. And I broke down, I think it was just the first page of a Spider-Man script that I found online. And, I go right through the text, how I place things. And I'm talking thumbnail, not like a Titan thumbnail. And I usually have 2 versions of what a thumbnail is. Anyway. That one was juicy. A lot of people seem to enjoy it and all that good stuff. But anyway, enough of that. Please head on over there, click around, see if there's anything you like. And if you become a patron, thank you so much. You guys are the bee's knees. You're the cat's ass. You guys are the cream de la cream. I love it. And hey, if you can't, sharing, tweeting, retweeting, watching the videos at all, more than enough. And I appreciate you guys giving me your time and the feedback and all that good stuff like that. So that about wraps it up for this week, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And until next Wednesday, when the show is supposed to be, from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll catch you guys then. So keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you then. Have a good night. Bye-bye.